All right, let's talk about something that probably keeps a lot of people in pharma and medical devices up at night: cleaning validation. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to dodge those dreaded regulatory findings and what to do if you're already staring one in the face. So, does the thought of an FDA or EMA inspector digging through your cleaning validation master plan give you a bit of a cold sweat? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. It is a super high stakes area where even the tiniest oversight can have some pretty massive consequences. And let's be clear, the stakes couldn't be higher. This is so much more than just paperwork. A single cleaning validation failure can directly compromise patient safety, it can bring production lines to a screeching halt, and it can trigger incredibly costly product recalls. Getting this right, it's completely non-negotiable. So to stay compliant, you really have to start thinking like a regulator. What are they actually looking for when they walk through that door? Let's break down some of the most common pitfalls that trip companies up time and time again. Whether you're dealing with the FDA here in the US or the EMA over in Europe, the core principles are pretty much universal. Sure, their emphasis might differ a little bit. The EMA really hones in on risk-based approaches, for example, but at the end of the day, they both want the exact same thing: a robust, scientifically defensible system that proves your equipment is clean and safe for every single batch. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. These are the top reasons companies get hit with discrepancies during an inspection. These are the big ones. First up, weak justifications. You can't just pick your stickiest product and call it a day anymore. Regulators demand, and I mean demand, a documented rationale for why you chose your worst-case scenario. And it has to be based on real data, things like solubility, toxicity, and even how complex the equipment is to clean. Then there are your acceptance limits. You can't just pull a number out of thin air. It has to be based on a scientific, health-based risk assessment. And finally, your methods. Can you actually find what you're looking for, at the levels you're looking for? Your analytical methods have to be fully validated to prove they're sensitive and specific enough for the job. But the issues don't just stop with the science. Let's take a look at the operational side of things, because this is where a lot of programs also fall short. Sometimes the problem can literally start with the machine itself. Any equipment with dead legs or surfaces that are really hard to clean, that's an immediate red flag for an inspector. More often than not, though, findings point back to us, to human error that stems from poor training and documentation. But maybe the most critical failure of all is when a cleaning run fails and there's no solid investigation into the root cause. Ignoring a failure is pretty much a guaranteed way to get a major finding. All right, so understanding the pitfalls is half the battle, right? Now let's pivot and focus on how to keep these nightmares from ever happening in the first place. And the key, as always, is being proactive. You see, an effective strategy is really a continuous cycle, where every single step is designed to address a potential point of failure. It all starts with planning your validation from day one, not treating it like an afterthought. It demands rigorous risk assessments and decisions that are backed by solid science. And it's a living process, something that you maintain through excellent training, rock-solid documentation, and constant monitoring to make sure your system stays in a validated state. But let's be realistic. Even with the best plans in the world, sometimes findings happen. This is where a robust corrective and preventive action system, what we call a CAPA, becomes your absolute most valuable tool. And this isn't just about fixing a problem, it's about making your entire system stronger. A really good CAPA follows 5 logical steps. First, you identify the finding precisely, exactly as the regulator stated it. Then you immediately evaluate its risk, to the product, to the patients. The third step is absolutely crucial: a deep dive investigation to find the true root cause, not just the symptom. Only then do you propose and implement your actions. And finally, you have to verify that your fix actually worked and the problem is gone for good. Okay, let's walk through a real-world example to make this stick. Imagine an inspector hands you a finding for that very first issue we talked about. Your worst-case justification is inadequate. What do? This right here. This is the absolute heart of the CAPA process. You can't just rewrite the justification and call it a day. You have to ask why it was weak. Was it a lack of understanding? A poorly written procedure? Do we not have enough data? Figuring out the why is the only way you can prevent it from ever happening again. Now, it is so important to understand the difference between these two things. The corrective action, that's your immediate fix. It's rewriting that specific master plan with a proper scientific rationale. But the preventive action, that's what truly impresses regulators. This means updating your SOPs, retraining the entire team, and then looking back at all your other plans to see if they have the same weakness. That is how you future-proof your entire system.
And the final step, one that is so often overlooked, is verification. You have to circle back and prove that the changes you made were actually effective. Whether you do that through internal audits or reviewing new data, this step closes the loop and formally demonstrates that the problem has been solved permanently.
So, after all of that, what's the big takeaway here? How should we really be viewing these challenges as we move forward? This really brings us to a crucial shift in mindset. A regulatory finding isn't a disaster, it's an opportunity. When you handle it correctly through a strong CAPA system, it's almost like getting a free consultation. It shows you exactly where and how to strengthen your quality system for the long run. And that leaves us with one essential question to ask ourselves. Is your approach to cleaning validation reactive, just designed to scrape by and pass audits? Or is it a proactive system, built on science and used as a real tool for continuous improvement? Honestly, the answer to that question will define your success.